Okay, good morning. It is 9 o'clock on May 13th. I will call the meeting to order. You have the agenda before you. Is there any issues with the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Betty, if you would read the minutes of the May 6th meeting.
May 6, 2024, Chairman Helgevold called the regular meeting of the Wright County Board of Supervisors to order at 9 a.m. Members present were Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Rasmussen to approve the tentative agenda, tabling item 7 for resolution 2024-14 until May 13th, and removing item 8, contract for services with Cost Advisory Services Incorporated, as we are under contract with that service. Motion carries. Minutes of the previous regular meeting of April 29, 2024 were read and approved. Approved claims for payment. In open forum, Leroy Jensen was wondering if Renutrients was running. They are not up and running yet, but are up to date on taxes and paying for half of the road to Renutrients. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Rasmussen to approve the second reading of ordinance number 68, Wright County Floodplain Management, and set the third reading for May 13th, 2024 by roll call vote, ayes, Cluse, Rasmussen, and Helgevold, nays, none. The second reading of ordinance number 68 passes. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Rasmussen to receive the monthly revenue report from the Wright County Sheriff. Motion carries. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Cluse to approve the liquor license for the Belmont Area Arts Council. Motion carries. Adam Clemens, Wright County Engineer, presented amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2024 Iowa DOT secondary roads budget. Motion by Cluse, seconded by Rasmussen to approve amendment number 1 to the fiscal year 2024 Iowa DOT secondary roads budget. Motion carries. Clemens gave an update on the secondary roads. There were 11 work orders completed last week. Hauling of the granular engineer miles is complete. Trucks are hauling the granular 2024 scheduled rock with 6 out of 90 segments completed. All road personnel are now on the 4 10-hour shifts, starting at 6 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. The engineer's office is also on 4 10-hour shifts, starting at 6:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. In new business, Amanda Meyer, finance manager in the auditor's office, presented a spreadsheet for the breakout of costs at the Wright County Resource Center for the entities that rent office space. There have been entities that have left the building recently. Public health will be moving over to the Resource Center in the near future. There was discussion about setting a flat rent amount for the departments that are currently at the Resource Center. The board will be looking over the current leases and updating them accordingly. The board will be going to the Tri-Rinse facility for an informational meeting at 2:15 p.m. today. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Cluse to adjourn the meeting. Motion carries.
Any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Just the changing 6:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. And that's on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so they will stand approved as corrected. Claims have been around. There were 4 signatures, I believe. Open forum for public input. Bob.
I sent you guys a text with on the corn and soybeans have a chance with the SAF market. Did you receive it?
I did receive.
Okay, thank you. Did you get it, Rick? Did
Yeah.
you read it?
Yeah,
I didn't read any, there was no, it was just the picture of the market and the price, what it did. There was no information
No
with it.
kidding.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
just all I got too.
Only the picture of
I was afraid.
what the market.
Picture of the
had done.
diagram.
Okay, since I just looked on my computer this morning.
I assumed what you were trying to get
Oh, yeah.
across was,
But that explains it really well. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You know, I should have checked that closer.
yeah, it had, this is what it had, Bob, was just what's in this
Corner.
box.
Yes.
It didn't have any of
I
the,
saw that this morning when I went to
Okay.
load it up.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, it's, the whole thing is a boondoggle. Do you want to read that or
I certainly can.
the federal government they got the horse out in front and they got all these tax credits and the article explained how there's people that have started building more soybean crush plants and stuff. Everything's on hold right now.
Okay. Would you like this read?
Pardon?
Would you like this read?
Out loud?
If you want to, that's,
No, that, I'm asking you, would you like it read for it to be on the record?
I should do that.
Okay,
You want me to?
you are most certainly welcome to.
Okay, okay, let's.
This is an article by Todd's, the article is, the title of it is Todd's Take, and it's by Todd Holtman, who is a DTN, lead analyst, on the soybean, markets. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's the satellite market, well, all the elevators and stuff use this too, everybody gets all this, if there's one thing I've learned from watching too much basketball in March, it's that they shouldn't say the word Lucretius too loud. Or some Boise rapper will show up and at my house. However, after reading the US Energy Department's DoD guidelines for sustainable aviation fuel, on Tuesday, Lucretius, I think that's right, isn't it?
Ludicrous.
Was the only word I could think of. It's going to be very difficult for corn and soybean producers to benefit from the new SAF market anytime soon, even if they're willing to comply with the government's required farm practices. It's not completely hopeless, but there's a classic chicken and egg problem here. Certainly the US has no significant SAF industry. As DTN Ag Policy Editor Chris Clayton explained Tuesday, EPA data shows roughly 24.5 millions of SAF were produced in 2023. And then they've got an article and another link to go to read another article on this. They encourage investors to build SAF production facilities. The federal government is offering tax incentives with a long list of complicated rules attached. Tuesday, documents laid the groundwork for what the rules would be in 2024 and would have been in 2023, just in case anyone owns a
DeLorean. Referring to being able to go back in time.
Right, yeah. Even if a producer accidentally grows SAF compliant corn in 24, he's going to get some price, the same price he would have gotten for any corn now, and there's no magic SAF market eager to share the tax credits with producers. There is some hope producers would benefit from SAF market by selling corn to nearby ethanol plants, for example, or soybeans to a local crush plant. For those facilities would sell the ethanol and soy oil to SAF plants for further processing. Tuesday's guidelines make those kind of arrangements difficult to set up. Consider on one hand, we have SAF industry that doesn't exist. And on the other hand, we have corn and soybean producers understandably skeptic about diving in to a pile of new regulations and changing their farming practices to grow corn and soybeans for a market that may still be years away. We also have ethanol plants and crush plants that would like to have in place the supply chain, but they are now supposed to be liable for policing their producers to produce crops that were raised in compliance with SAF requirements. USDA doesn't have a budget for such meticulous enforcement. Do ethanol and crush plants want to be liable for fraud in the system? Time and the promise of new rules under 427Z will tell the pathway for corn and soybeans can be improved, but for now, consider the choices in front of the ethanol plant. The ethanol plant already has a business with viable markets and the freedom to buy corn from anybody it wants. Becoming SAF compliant involves finding and becoming dependent on exclusive network of producers who agree to raise crops in a prescribed way. If the ethanol plant tries to sign up SAF compliant producers incrementally, it will have to have segment production schedules between compliant ethanol production and non-compliant production. This does not seem practical. Let's say the ethanol plant is lucky enough to find an SAF producer to do business with and decides to go all out, committing to only taking corn from its network of SAF compliant producers. Will the plant be able to find enough producers to fill by the fall of 2025? What if the network falls short on production? One commitment once committed, they can't just go out and buy corn from anybody. Do ethanol plants need these extra headaches? What kind of contracts will the new SAF plants be willing to write? And how much tax credits will they share down the supply chain? There are just a few thousand questions to be answered here. Another possible strategy is for investors to build SAF plants through the Midwest and contract direct willing to follow the rules. Gevo, one of the example of a company that signed contracts with airlines and is now in the process of figuring out how to produce low carbon SAF by contracting directly with participating farmers. And it says see gevo.com for more. Gevo is ready with a press release after Tuesday's DOE announcement saying the company was well positioned to help SAF production and has accounting tool to help farmers track emissions and keep scores down. Read it here, another link to another site. The changes for any company with a strategy like Gevo's is we have yet to find out if SAF produced from corn and soybeans with all new regulations and record keeping requirements can complete with SAF produced from used cooking oil. And that's trying to explain that regular bean oil is not SAF. It's gotta be, the government rules say it has to be used soybean oil, but it's to be used in restaurants and stuff like that. From cooking oil, tallow, and Brazilian sugarcane. And none of these three feedstocks have verified production processing the way products from corn and soybeans do. In the case of used cooking oil, tallow, there aren't even restrictions on the country of origin. Today's DEO guidelines are the first proposed we've seen in black and white, and it's fair to say we all have a lot to learn about how this new industry will move forward at all. The early questions I rise above are just are simple, that we need better answers and a lot more decisions in the days. Unfortunately, corn and soybean producers, I suspect the road to new SAF market is going to be a long, rocky. The bulk of ethanol plants will probably sit out. In one round, winning feedstocks for the new SAF plants are going to be used cooking oil, tallow, Brazilian sugarcane, all made appealing by their competitive, lightweight regulatory burdens. Knowing how to accountants are good at finding loopholes, I have to believe somewhere in America, a boardroom executives are trying to figure out the cheapest way of converting soybean oil into cooking oil. Okay, it's just for educational purposes, it says, okay.
Right, so, and basically what it's referring to is, the ability for farmers to be able to share in the 45Z tax credit. And you do that by having a carbon intensity score, a low carbon intensity score, which means incorporating cover crops and certain practices in order to meet that low carbon intensity score. And it's
We're building an industry right now that doesn't exist.
correct. And a record keeping nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only for the producer, but also
But the
for the.
ethanol plants and the soybean crushing
Right.
plants and everything else.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So my comment though is another county made some new zoning rules and stuff, and you guys really need to look at this a little harder and make some rules. Because I don't think, as a taxpayer in Wright County, I wouldn't be afraid of them suing. They're trying to sue everybody. They're trying to scare everybody with suing in the country. And I know what that does. I've been involved in a couple lawsuits and it's no fun.
Right,
So they're all in appeal. Nothing's been decided. It's unconstitutional and the safety of it is ridiculous. And I think you're slowly learning that. But I know the zoning board is working back and forth, but I've heard some of their comments and stuff, and if it doesn't affect you and you haven't studied this, and I know you studied it, And one of the fellows on the board says he's really studied it, and now he says he needs more information. Well, he's walking a tightrope in the middle of the road. I very strongly dislike people who won't take a stand one way or the other. I would rather have someone completely disagree. And we'll go our own ways. So with the election coming up, I thought this would be a good time to rattle some cages and stuff, and maybe you guys could talk a little bit. The papers are all full of what you're gonna do for economic development and stuff, and 331 kind of says that, yeah, that's part of your jobs, but the next part is the safety of the citizens and stuff. And when you look at where this pipeline is going and the size is going to be increased, because if they add all this on, but we still don't know if the utility board, what they're gonna do. They reopened the comment period on land restoration after it goes through.
Right.
Because that shows their thinking, because thank God Farm Bureau finally has policy on it, and you can't talk about anything unless we have policy. But they didn't do anything in the legislature this year with it, so.
Right. And I assume your comment concerning this being an election year, you're talking about our state legislators rather than our county supervisors. If you're referring to county supervisors, I would remind you that we have a planning and zoning board.
Yep.
And it is not my job to dictate to an individual independent board how to make decisions. There are times I would like to do that, but that's, if we start running government like that, we're doing it the wrong way. So, that would be my only comment, but trust me, you're preaching to the choir.
Okay.
I think you know that.
I know, yeah.
Okay.
But Rick and Carl especially, I've talked with him quite a bit, and I hope you can hear me, Carl, because we're on both other sides of the fence right now on this, okay?
Okay. Carl, did you hear Bob's comments?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Anyone else like to address the board? Anyone online like to address the board? Okay. Item number 6, Brittany Housen to discuss the use of the courthouse yard for an event for the, and the electrical outlets in the yard.
Yes, so I met with you guys about a month ago to get approval for Family Fun Night and Festival in the park.
Yep.
You guys did approve that and
Use of the parking lot too?
yes,
Yep.
thank you for
Yep.
that. I am vice president of the CDA, which is formerly the chamber and the economic that joined forces. Our new board took over a year ago, so we are still moving forward, but kind of learning some previous things along the way. One of that has been brought to our attention that the circuit and outlets in the lawn is a separate entity that the chamber put in well over 30 years ago.
Okay.
So I'm here to start the conversations with you guys. I'm also gonna meet with the city and then as the CDA board. In previous surveys done by, prior studies done in our community by outside surveyors state that events should be held in our downtown and on the courthouse.
Right.
Obviously, we have this big, beautiful courthouse that is a drawing factor for our community. When we bring people to town, obviously, they're gonna spend that sales tax money comes right back to our county, which is a great benefit. One thing we CDA wanna do is the revitalization. We want to keep developing in our community, bringing people to town and looking at different avenues of what we can do that with. Needing power on the lawn is a big thing. Andy obviously has dealt with the power a little bit. I had John DeBreeze come and take a look as well. I think Andy has been voiced to the previous chamber board that they do need updating. They can't operate well. I think quote was, you can barely plug in a roaster.
Well, yeah, they were originally put in, I know from my experience with the Rurotans, they were initially put in so that the Rurotans could run Christmas lights in the wintertime. So they were designed for running something,
Very
low
low.
amperage draw, very low
Yes.
amperage draw. Um, and so your question is,
So I would like to see if the Board of Supervisors, as Wright County, the city and the chamber, if we can come together in all agreement that we need good power to bring events, to bring food trucks, to bring, I know CDA, we are not doing the original Christmas tree lights, because they do need rewired. We would like to do a big lighting on the big huge tree if possible, but,
It's on that evergreen, cause I talked to Andy about it a month ago.
and, things like Festival in the Park, they're moving all of the shopping and the vendors and the kids stuff to the courthouse side of it to kind of expand and draw more people in with more things to do. I know we can apply for the hotel motel grant, which would be up to $5,000 to get a new circuit and outlets and all, whatever it all entails. I'm just kind of starting, I'm looking into Mid-American, since obviously that powers it right here, to see if there are any grants or
Okay.
tax benefits or any pluses
Yeah.
that they can offer, but can we start that conversation of seeing if we can all three work together and fund?
yeah, I don't think you'll find any, I guess I'm speaking for myself, but, would you oppose that in any way?
No, I think that'd be great to work together.
Carl, would you oppose that in any way?
I've got no issue with it at all.
All right. Andy, do you see any issues?
Not so much, I just don't want big, tall, like campsite posts out there.
Okay.
That's what we think about.
Okay.
Low profile, so. that's what we're doing.
I'm first getting everybody on board that
Yeah.
we can start doing this together before I start, so I'll talk to you. Because I don't know where-
Did John DeVries have any pricing or costs or estimates?
He
anything like that?
guesstimated that we're looking at 10 to 15,000,
Okay.
but that was just his guesstimation. Obviously, we would wanna bring in an electrician.
Good.
I know Chad Chapman is Gray Energy. He volunteered to come look and see what could be done, which I would start with to get a more accurate, like, this is what our budget would be.
Yeah, I don't think you'll find any opposition, from this side. We're all about economic development and promoting the community, so.
Awesome.
Cause I know it was a couple of years ago, we even had issues with the lights being lit.
Correct.
And because of the age of the wiring and
And
whatnot.
I mean, based off of the previous chamber board members that I spoke to, they're well over 30 years old, so it's, I mean,
Yeah.
electrical is, one, it was installed for a lower amp,
Yeah.
and B,
Yep.
it's time,
Okay.
I can provide you with a mid-am rep also.
perfect, thank you.
Good. Anything else? Okay.
I would recommend working with Andy on this.
Yeah. I mean, he's the one that has to maintain around it. so
Yes, he's the one
We
that has
wanna.
to keep Andy happy, cause when he's not happy, it's not good for us.
Anything else? Anyone else like to address the board in the? Okay, I'm gonna skip item 7 and go down to item 8. Larry, I apologize, you were timed at 9:15.
That's right.
Thank you,
we have
Brittany.
Larry
Yeah,
Platt,
thank you.
Mayor of Dow's, to discuss gun club property north of Dow's.
Yeah, thank you guys for allowing me to come in here real quick. This has to do, it's the circled area there, on the northwest part of. Actually, it's not in town, it's right on the edge of our town, the old gun club property that. 40, 50 years ago, there was a gun club area out there that the people, it's outside the city limits, so they could shoot the guns there, maybe do a little hunting there. Right now, the last two people that I know that belong to that club are, one's moved out of town, the other one is close to going to the nursing home. So there's really nothing going on with this property. A couple of years ago, I went in, I talked to the Wright County Conservation. There was a couple of trees growing up. Our city sign is on this property, welcome to Dow's. A couple of trees were growing up there, volunteer trees. They said, do whatever you want. We don't want, it's kind of like no man's land. Nobody wants to do anything with it. So I cut those trees down, but now lately, It's probably close to 3 acres, probably out there, give or take. And there's probably they're just getting to be too thick, too many trees. I brought up to the council last meeting can we go out there? Can I hire Joey Hara to go out there and cut these trees down? Thin it out a little bit, make it look a little better. Nobody mows it, but there's dead trees in there. It's looking pretty bad coming into town. As usual, they didn't agree with me. They just, well, maybe the county will take them out. Maybe they'll take care of it. Maybe they'll give it to the city, something like that. Nobody wants to do anything.
It is property that's controlled by Wright County Conservation.
It used to be back when it was the gun club, but when I called them, it's been probably 2 years ago, they're like, they didn't say it was theirs, or they just said, you do whatever you want to. We don't want nothing to do with it. It's just
It's owned by the conservation board.
So,
Okay, and that's how it's registered on the tax rolls.
so,
I would like to have you, and again, I'm not trying to duck responsibility for this, but it is controlled by the Wright County Conservation Board, and I would request that you would
okay,
take that
there.
concern.
Okay.
They meet on the,
It's
Second-
this Wednesday.
this
We
Wednesday? Okay.
postponed last meeting.
Okay, so this Wednesday, so you'd be able to get on the agenda yet, for Wednesday, take it to the Conservation Board. And
because we have no problem doing, I wanna do something out there, and I know it's a kind of a.
I called the former director to find out the history behind it
Yeah,
and the hunting and fishing club
yeah,
bought it, donated it to the conservation board. They wanted to plant trees on it. They wanted to plant Scots pine, which are the trees that are
Yep.
dying.
yeah,
Against the advice of the conservation board, they planted Scots pine and we have what we have.
yeah. So
so if you'll take it to
Yep,
them
I will.
and work with them,
I
I
don't
would
know,
appreciate
you
it.
guys meet once a month or?
Once a month, second Wednesday of the month.
Okay.
This month's meeting was postponed because we didn't have a quorum, so it'll be this Wednesday at 7 o'clock
So
at the lake.
in the morning?
No.
At night.
Okay,
and
I'll be able to make it,
Yep.
okay, because,
So,
In the conservation office there at Lake Premier.
yep, okay.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'll
Okay,
do that.
thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, going back to item number 7, review, the completed fiscal year 2023 cost allocation plan and approve the chairman to sign the certification of cost allocation. Betty, do you want to explain this?
The
So I
best I
don't.
can. Yeah. So there's, and Sandy might be able to explain it a little better than with this, but it's a cost allocation plan through, with the public health and with the DHS. And what it is, the auditor's office and the courthouse, they use like the depreciation schedule to figure out, because we pay the bills. We pay all the bills for the public health department. We pay the bills for DHS. And so they do a cost allocation plan as to, for accounts payable, for my time, for depreciation of the building. There's just a multitude of different costs that they allocate out. Through that, there'll be,
Which we're able to recover some of those costs through the federal government, correct?
correct, yes, and so,
You can use it to, if you are going to use indirect costs to do a federal grant.
Okay,
But it's basically what is left with your depreciation, with all the stuff that Betty, that you can't attribute to a grant.
Okay.
Or,
Yeah.
program, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like the loose, you always have kind of that loose, that you
the
can't.
overhead costs, basically,
Yes.
yep.
Yeah.
and so for the public health department, it's, the indirect cost is $91,003. And for DHS is $12,019.
Very good.
And so we can get up to those dollars. Is that the way I understand it?
Yeah, if I was writing the grant and I was going to use the indirect cost section, that percentage is what I would
It would
use.
be, you could use that as a match.
Administrative, indirect, or, actual cost, so that's the
Mhm.
numbers that I
Okay.
use.
And the cost to do from cost advisory service for a 3-year is, I think it was like $4,000.
$4,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's well worth the money that we pay the company. Our return on investment is significant.
And that actually has trended down, when I look back. It was 100 and. 93, I think. Down to 93, down to 91, so slowly over
Okay,
the last 3 or 4 years, I've brought it down to where I've been able to plug in better, so.
good. Hearing that, if there's no questions, I would accept a motion to, allow the chairman pro tem to sign, the cost allocation plan.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second,
A motion and a second to, approve the, chairman pro tem to sign the certification of cost allocation, for fiscal year 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carl, how do you vote?
aye,
Motion carried.
And Carl, when will you be back?
Wednesday.
Wednesday, okay.
You want him just to sign that since the paperwork's already filled out?
Well, that's why I was just wondering. It doesn't, yeah,
Okay, it's
if-
not
if
time
it's okay.
sensitive.
it's not time sensitive,
Okay,
no.
I'm good with that. You're good with that?
Okay,
Okay.
so that'll be a change to the motion
Yep.
to have the chairman sign.
Very
I
good.
mean, I can reprint this and
No,
rewrite it.
no,
a
if it's
big
not
deal.
time sensitive, I'm good with Carl.
Okay,
When you get
Okay.
to that.
You put it in my mailbox.
Okay.
okay.
Item number 9, Jeremy Abbas, planning and zoning coordinator, review and act on the third reading of ordinance 68, number 68 on the amended floodplain ordinance. This was an ordinance, that is a federal requirement and it replaces ordinance number 47, I believe. Mostly it's, wording and, federal requirements.
Definitions.
Yeah. Had you received any further comments, Jeremy?
No, I've received nothing.
Okay, I have not. And did you have
No.
any comments? Carl, have you received any comments concerning this ordinance?
None.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the third reading of ordinance number 68 on the amended floodplain ordinance.
I'll second that. I have a motion and a second to approve the third reading of ordinance, third and final reading of ordinance number 68. All those in favor, let me see, is this by roll call? By roll call vote. Carl, how do you vote?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
Dean? Aye. Motion carries.
Can I get a copy of that when you're done, so I can send it to the state?
Yeah, and then also, will you be putting it in the newspaper? Publishing it?
You,
I believe so.
Under the board.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's your ordinance now. yeah.
okay. So, because it has the hearing date, the publication date, and the effective date, so I just have
He
to
doesn't
wait,
do it because he's already done. It's the board's ordinance now.
so,
and I think it becomes effective on publication, right?
correct.
Okay, item number 10, review and act on resolution 2024-14 for additional uses of the ARPA money, ARPA money, for the, resource center. This is a resolution. Resolution 2024-14 is an addition to the original resolution 2022-14, 2022-35, 2023-19, 2023-44, and 2024-13 to approve disbursement of the funds for the American Rescue Plan Act. And this is increasing the amount on renovations to the Wright County Resource Center from $200,000 not to exceed $290,000. You'll remember from a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I believe, we had a working session over at the Resource Center with the Director of the VA, the Director of Public Health, the Board of Supervisors, and the Auditor's Office, and Andy Yackel, who is our Building and Grounds Coordinator. And went over exactly what the plans are on getting public health moved over there and the requirements for that handicapped accessible, ADA compliant restroom on the first floor. And other agencies that are in there that were able to move to the lower floor. So that's where this dollar value came from. Again, I would add that we had looked at another property, and we are still well below the cost of what it would have been to go down that route. So is there any questions or concerns on this? Hearing none, I would accept the motion to pass, to approve resolution 2024-14, which is,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution -2024-14. It's to
I'll second.
approve the disbursement of funds for the American Rescue Plan Act.
I have a motion and a second, by roll call vote. Carl,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Dean, aye. Motion carried. Okay. Item number 11, review and take action on billing expenses at the Wright County Resource Center. Again, there was, last week, we had discussion concerning, we were provided a list of agencies that are currently in the resource center and those who had moved out of the resource center. And, how we used to allocate, costs over there. Public health will be moving over into that building and will be assuming they will be the major, utilizer of the building. Although we will still have Veterans Affairs over there, building families and,
Juvenile court.
juvenile case, is it called juvenile case management?
And
Is that?
Juvenile court officer.
Yeah. The juvenile court officer, that is stationed over there will remain in their existing office because it's already hardwired with all of the stuff that's required for communications, with the courts and with their secure emails and, processing. So that office building space will remain as is, and the court provides all of their services that they require, copiers, telephone lines, all of
and
that.
if I'm not correct, we have to supply them a
That's,
office.
that's correct. That is a requirement. So now we are gonna take all of the costs and put them to one, and that will come under the public health budget as, is my understanding. Am I understanding that correctly?
I believe what we talked about was that the things that are gonna be directly paid by public health is gonna be for any work done with the server. They have their own copier, they have their own color gun, the shredding and office supplies and the internet.
Okay.
The items that are gonna be billed to Department 50, which is the Resource Center Department, would be the employee costs, the salary, FICA, IPRS benefits, the custodian, his phone, electricity and water,
And
and the garbage.
Yeah.
And
That-
pest control.
that'll come out of Andy's fund, right?
That'll be
That's his second.
the
Right.
Department 50.
Right.
And then when rent is being paid, that will be going back to Department 50 as a revenue for the cost of against the custodial and cleaning and that like that.
I'll
So-
set those costs.
Correct.
Good. And so we need approval for that plan.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Okay,
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve, as discussed, the payment of costs allocated to operating the, Wright County Resource Building. All those in favor say aye.
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 And one other
Motion
thing to
carried.
kind of make it clearer is that like building families is $300 a month for
Mhm.
their 2 office spaces in the basement. The VA, we just provide space. She's pretty now by herself
Yep.
with, and all of her expenses are out of general basic. DHS, is currently paying 6.7% of the, like the salary of, and benefits, electricity, water and that. So they pay just a portion, which is what this cost analysis that we did, some of that money comes back to us then again.
Okay.
And then, of course, the juvenile court officer, we provide space and she's pretty much a standalone.
Yeah. Yeah, and we need to provide the space for the Veterans Affairs. I mean, that is a benefit that is beneficial not only to the veterans, but to the county, the dollars that she brings into the county, federal dollars typically that comes into the county through the work that she does. Okay, item number 12. Jeremy Abbas, Assistant to the Engineer on the Secondary Roads update.
Well, we had a little water last week.
Another statement.
Yeah. Blades, we're still blading our districts when weather did allow, we did a lot of spot blading, in places until it gets too saturated, then it's pointless to be out there, so. We did have some blades doing some, if you've noticed, maybe didn't, some reclaiming of the shoulders. We got the reclaimer on the maintainer and bring some of those shoulders back in, get that drop off taken care of and get our slopes correct on our 4 slopes from traffic over the year. The trucks did get some granular program hauled, and then some spot loads. Their program last week, I think, was at 6%. We got up to 14% in the last week with it being wet. So 13 of 90 segments got done. Work orders were a little bit low. We still were able to get 2 tile work orders done and then 1 service. So the majority of our time last week was guys in pickups patrolling the county, looking for our lowest. We know where the water's gonna go over first if it does go. Hamilton, Webster, I believe Hancock all had water over the roads, and we didn't have any. So,
Excellent.
whether that's from, drainage districts or whether keeping intakes and everything, up to date, we didn't see it. So the one low spot we usually gets out by the lake, and we're about 2 inches from going over, but we never did, so. Yeah, and that's basically, that's it. We had 3 days of rain, so, productivity was a little bit lower, so.
I went down to
The bridge.
and went down and walked around the thing. Quite impressive, the beams that they put in there. It looked like they were already forming to be able
Yep, false
to
work.
start being able to pour.
That's a pretty neat system too, the way they got the hangers. It's been years since Wright County's done a beam bridge, so. The way they got the hangers in there for that much weight of concrete to sit on is impressive. May 22nd is when we're supposed to pour.
Okay,
That's what they're planning.
will they pour the, I guess I call it the abutment, the approach to the bridge first before they pour the bridge?
No, the abutments or the bridge approaches will be last.
Okay,
So where they're gonna come in now, they'll park on the west side. It's gonna be a very large pump truck. So it's gonna pump all the way to the other side.
Wow.
So you'll fill in back behind the beams there.
yeah,
It goes down, sits on the abutment, and then it'll come up to the deck, and then the deck across and then down.
okay,
So that'll be just shy of 200 yards, cubic
Wow.
yards. But our schedule's really nice. We've
Good.
been, this has been a very good crew. They're very tidy. I think you'd see by the work
yes,
area.
absolutely.
Very nice job. So, we've been happy with them. And right now, I think on their original plans were June 18th finishing up is what the original plan was, and I think we're right there.
Good.
So I think end of June would be nice
That would be
to
great.
see us get it. So,
Okay, thank you. Whole business or meetings?
I had, Rettinger for Udmo. We get a lot of donations in that are specifically for like coats, stuff like that. Which we got plenty of money for that stuff, but we're running short on is basically running the place. So we're looking at what else can we do to tighten it, because we can't seem to get the money in just to run the place.
For people costs or for building costs?
People costs, yes. It's, we had a big meeting Friday, we were up there for 4 hours, and we're probably gonna have another meeting this week. We're working with employees, because we don't really want to have to lay employees off. But we're looking at doing some, time shutdowns at like our Eagle Grove office, where they're maybe only open 3 days a week. Because some places aren't as busy as others, but we also want to work with employees so they don't lose their benefits. Because they need the job as well as anybody else, but yeah, we don't want to scare anybody, have everybody bail on us, and then we're sitting with nothing.
Good.
So, and I'll keep you informed on what we're gonna be doing.
we also had, I didn't have any meetings, specific meetings last week. We did, tour the Tri-Rents, building, the old Eaton building in, Belmont. That was my first time being inside the building. Very impressive, tour of what they're doing. We got to see the operation in motion. This is a facility that is contracted by seed producers such as Bayer, would be one that I would name, or Pioneer, or any Syngenta, seed company that uses, the bulk boxes, I guess is the best way. They're reusable bulk boxes to rinse those out.
And repair them.
Actually rinse, scrub, they have, robots that actually run a scrubber around the entire thing. And so, and clean it and then repair it. Yes, if there's, anything found in the inspection of the boxes, they have the capability of cutting out that damaged section and welding in a new section. It was very impressive. So, I think, the workforce was, I want to say that he said that they were close to 100 employees. Right now, they're running 2 shifts, I think, and looking for a third shift if they can get the people hired. So,
And they also repair a lot of the boxes too.
yeah. Very, very, very impressive tour. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Anything else? Carl, anything?
No meetings this week.
Okay, and will you return this week?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday, very good. All right. Safe travels for you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We are adjourned.